You know, the roots of the C.B.T.U are deep, and I want to thank, we can never thank Mr. William Lucy enough, because it was his vision in 1972, seeing the need for African American folks in the same way that A. Philip Randolph saw the need for the Brotherhood of Steel Porters, seeing a need and filling the gap, seeing that African Americans needed a space in the labor movements and called their own. He was a visionary. He is a giant in this movement. And you know what? We need to give him his flowers and his praise, y'all. He is alive. I want to thank him. And then if you know the history, you probably know that he was there in Memphis with the striking sanitation workers, and that really it was his slogan, I am a man. And when we look at the history and we see those signs, it was his slogan, I am a man. We can pull back right now in the 21st century, that same slogan, that same poster, and add a whole lot of folks to that. I am a man, I am a woman, I am from the LGBT community, I am, because what that symbolized was a hope and a demand for respect. He coined that phrase. So every time you see those signs, you need to think about Mr. William Lucy. Frederick Douglass once said that power concedes nothing without a struggle, that it never has and it never will. So we will have to continue to fight for everything that we get. When the Black Women's Round Table talked about the stats, and I know that they were rushed, and I want to thank them for doing such a great job right before lunch. We need to take those stats that they have given us and use those to our benefit. But when Black women move, things happen. Things start to change. The world starts to move. The struggle for African Americans and of African Americans has always been that of liberation. You look at the history of our struggle, it has always been not just about African Americans, but it has been about the liberation of people. And that is something we should be proud of. Now y'all call it so we definitely need to use our gifts in our places and our spaces, and we need to assert our power. Tired of elected officials whispering sweet nothings in the ears of folks. And particularly for African Americans who are usually taken for granted most of the time. But then every 4 years, somebody comes knocking at our door. We need to demand some stuff for that. And we need folks to stand up for our best interests in those political spaces. And if they do not, they gotta go. They got Mother Rosa Parks decided that on that particular day, that she wasn't getting up. Now she had ridden that bus every day going to work. That wasn't her first time to the rodeo. But on that particular day, she said she wasn't getting up. So Mrs. Rosa Parks sat. So that Dr. King and Dr. King walked so that President Barack Obama could run. And President Barack Obama ran so that our children can fly. Come on, C.B.T.U. We got to put something on. So all I'm saying is that we got to put a down payment on the debt that we owe. We will never be able to repay our foreparents for all that they have done and all that they have gone through, but we also put a down payment on the debt.
Put that on YouTube, Facebook tonight, bro.
Engage. Speaking truth to power, standing up, exerting yourself. You don't need, ladies, women, you don't need to ask anybody for permission. The hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. I'm just saying. And that is from whether you birth a child in the world or whether you are a woman that cares about progress. You rock the cradle, so you rule the world. It should matter that you are in those spaces. In 2011, Stevie knows, and Joanne knows, and Davis knows, and Andre, We had at the hands of Republicans trying to turn back the hands of time for collective bargaining rights. We got together and put aside all of our disagreements and said that we are going to fight and unite based on what we have in common. Black, white, Latino, Asian, race didn't matter, gender didn't matter, sexual orientation didn't matter. Because I'm going to tell you something, when somebody puts both of their feet on your neck, you come together real quick. And we were able to overturn what they tried to do. You don't get up for decent, you get up for great and for good. You deserve that. You deserve that. But as African American folks, we can be some of our own worst enemies. And y'all know we got too much work to do to be backbiting and fighting one another. Too much. We need to get to work on solving the problems of our day, the wealth gap, the gender gap. The average woman, 77 cents on every dollar. African American women about 68, 65 cents. The Latina about 55 cents. We got more than enough work to do. Because generations yet unborn are depending on us to stand up in this space, in this place, do what we must do. We started from the bottom, but now we're here. When I think about what happened in 2012, how many of you remember the first debate with the president? Can I just testify for me? I remember where I was like it was yesterday. Like it was yesterday. My husband and I we were out at a public viewing, about 150 people. It was a mixed crowd. With Democrats and Republicans mixed. It was a young crowd, 35 and younger, and the young professionals had gotten together and said, regardless of our political affiliation, we're going to get together and watch this debate. Now, C.B.T.U, I'm at the front. I'm in the front row. 5 minutes go by. I'm like, Lord Jesus, I know my president going to come through here in a minute. He's just warming up. 10 minutes go by. 15 minutes go by. My husband comes up to the front and said, baby, I got to get you out of here because it ain't going to be no better. I could not get out the bed the next morning. I don't know about the rest of y'all, but I was so messed up about my president and what had happened. A couple of days later, I get a call and I'm invited to be on the Ed Show. And so Ed asked me the question he always asked me in 2012 about Ohio, because everybody knows, no disrespect from the other states in here, that Ohio is the swing state. So Ed Show, he said, Senator Turner, will Ohio deliver for President Barack Obama? I looked dead in that camera and said, you know what? Yes, we will deliver for President Barack Obama. You best believe we will. What y'all don't know is that there's a green room in the back, and the sister got down on her knees. In that room, there's green room. I said, no. No brother fell a long time for wood tickets. We must deliver Ohio. You know, you got to call on the law. And God, he did that, didn't he? But he did it because of people power. Yes. People power. Because he ain't coming down off the throne, he works through people. We are the people. Yeah. We were able to deliver all over this country because we knew this, that President Barack Obama, whether you agree with every policy, with every move, you know that he is a man of the people, that he thinks and feels deeply, that he loves everybody, that he wants to lift everybody. That we knew. We had to live. And so Ohio delivered. Yes, we did. Thank you, Jesus. But ladies though, but for women. And sometimes we are disregarded. And I know sometimes you don't always feel respected or feel valued, but I am here to tell you what you got going on. And that you are, you listen, better than 2 bags of Lay's potato chips and barbecue sauce. You are. But since your value cannot be measured, it should matter that you are in the room. Assert your power. Dr. King once said that we all can be great because we all can serve. In other words, you don't need a fancy title to do what is right, to stand up. Rosa Parks didn't have a fancy title. Fannie Lou Hamer didn't have a fancy title. Daisy Bates didn't have a fancy title, but they had a willingness to stand up against a system that told them that they were less than. We stand on the shoulders of giants. Some people who never saw freedom, they couldn't taste freedom, they couldn't smell it or wrap their arms around it, but they knew that they had a moral obligation to fight for it for you and you and you and you and you and for me. And so now the question becomes, what are we going to do for the cause? Not what somebody else is going to do, but what are we going to do? And now to women's rights, which I dabbled in that space a little bit. I'm not just talking about reproductive rights, I'm talking about economics. But the two go together because ladies, my God, we can't control our own bodies. God, what else can we control?
That's right.
And I don't know a whole lot of folks who are pro-abortion. I just know folks that are pro-choice. And I figure in my mind, when the Lord gave us choice, who are we to take choice away from somebody else? We know safe and rare is what we want. But when men, and it's mainly men, not the men in this room, but the other men, want to control the woman's body. I don't understand that. They want government small, but they're small enough to fit into a woman's womb. I don't understand. They do. And then these folks, they talk about smaller government, though, they want to run what little government is left. I don't understand this. So you know what, in Ohio, they introduced a bill that would do some bad things to women. And I thought to myself, even though the Democrats are in the minority, I am duly elected, ladies. This is I am duly elected just like this. I woke up in there like I am in the majority. I am the majority. When I show up, I am the majority. They introduced this heartbeat bill, which I call the heartless bill. So I decided, you know what, I'm going to introduce a bill too. Because, women, we are feeble-minded. We don't know what to do unless men tell us what to do. And because as an elected official, I care more about educating children and putting people back to work and collecting bargain rights. I said, something must be wrong with me. I need to regulate men's health. So I introduced an erectile dysfunction bill. raise the wage. They got time to mess with women, but they won't create parity in pay. They cut funding to education and local government. They got time for all of this foolishness. I remember in 2013, watching that Congress. They went on Christmas break without extending unemployment benefits. At the time, it was 1.3 million Americans that needed that, people who did not know where their next meal was going to come from, or whether they could pay their mortgage, or pay their car note. They still have not extended. They are heartless. And then a couple of weeks ago, in the Senate, in the federal Senate, they wouldn't even allow the increase the minimum wage bill to go to the floor. There was only one GOP member that stood with the Democrats to vote in favor of allowing that thing to come to the floor. But it didn't go to the floor. $10.10 an hour is not a whole lot of money. They are heartless. Cut SNAP benefits, knowing that there are millions of people who go to bed hungry every night in the greatest country on the face of the earth. They are heartless. In Ohio, one of my colleagues, because I got another bill, on that bill, introduced the bill to drug test welfare recipients. And I thought about that thing, to marginalize people who are already poor, already struggling. I had a flashback, sisters and brothers, about my life. How I got over my soul looks back and wonders how I got over it. Having two parents who got married very, very young and it didn't work out, and living the majority of my life in a single mama household. My mother died at the age of 42 years old. Aneurysm burst in her brain. I saw her that night, never dreamed that I would not, or saw her that morning, never dreamed that I wouldn't see her that night. I am the oldest of 7 children. I was 22 years old. My baby sister was 12 years old. My mother went into a coma before the doctor said, Nina, you are the oldest, you gotta pull the plug. She not coming. There's a poem by Langston Hughes that asks a very similar question. What happens to a dream deferred? My mother was not perfect. She grew up in a middle-class household. My grandparents were middle-class folks. She was the only child. She could have grown up to be anything that she wanted to be. But sisters and brothers, everybody does not run the race at the same pace. Her birthday is tomorrow. Wow. All right. So when people push policies that hurt and marginalize the working poor, when people push policies that hurt and marginalize middle-class folks who are holding on for dear life to stay in the middle class, I feel like those of us who are elected to office, we have a duty to respond. Yes. And not to stay comfortable. So when my colleague introduced that drug test and the welfare recipients, I said, I gotta act for that. All right. And so I introduced the bill to drug test members of the Ohio Bureau of Citizens. Office. I believe that I'm an elected ministry, and it is my job to stand up. Why do they even run for office? They don't even like people. It's just like, I want you to feel like we are on a board and we're interviewing folks for a car, to be the CEO of a car. And you interview the person, And the last question you ask them, so tell me what you think about cars. Do you like cars? And they say, no, I really don't like cars. Now you're going to laugh them out of them. You put their resume away. Because they're not fit to be the CEO of a car company. Because they don't like cars. So how is it that we elect people who don't like people? We elect folks to serve in government who do not like people. If they don't want to serve people, then they need to get the hell out the way. And let people who do want to serve people serve people. The needs are too great in the 21st century to play around. We don't have time to play around. And what I'm saying, C.B.T.U, is that you need to vote for and fight for and lobby for and push for people who have your best interests. Not have an affiliation with a political party. Now, I am a Democrat. All right. And I'm a proud Democrat because I believe that Democrats stand up for social justice and equality for all folks. We do. However, that does not mean that as people of color that we don't have to fight even people in our own family. And you got to be willing and ready to do it. To stand in that ready position when it's time. So now the voting rights. Never did I think I would live to see the day to have people try to regress us and take us back in time. And not just us as African American folks, but us as in all people. The greatest equalizer that we have, where it doesn't matter your race, your gender, your socioeconomic status, your sexual orientation, is when you step into the voting booth. We are all equal. Yes. And we got folks all over the country have gone mad. The GOP have gone mad. I'm not going to say some elected officials. We know exactly who's doing it. I'm just going to call them out on it. Trying to take us back in time. Putting up roadblocks to the ballot box. We cannot stand for that in a representative democracy. This democracy is about the people, by the people. Of the people, by the people, for the people. But you, ladies and gentlemen, have a responsibility. There is no such thing as an off-year election. And here it is, we got elections all over this country, and some people show up to vote, some people don't. All right, thank you. I mean, we got to show up, we got to show up, we got to go vote. Every election matters, every election is important, not just the presidential election. All right. Because it doesn't matter how great the president, no matter who he or she is. She's coming one day. She comes soon. It doesn't matter because the quarterback is only as good as the team they can go to. There you go. That's right. And the teams on the local levels, on the regional levels, on the state level, where our rights are being eroded is on the state level of government. Then folks stay home. I don't know about the other states, but in Ohio, only 17% of the folks registered to vote came out to vote during the primary. Now, some of that has to do with all the voter suppression stuff going on, don't get me wrong, but Tupac once said, the urban poet, Tupac, said, don't hate the player, hate the game. And we're not going to hate the player, we're going to play the game. And we got to play it to win it, and that's why we have to go out to vote. The school board member, the judge, the mayor, the township trustee, the council person, all just as important. That state rep, that state senator, even more important than electing the president of the United States, because that is where the rubber meets the road in your lives, in your children's lives, every single day. We have to vote. Now, if you want better laws, we need better lawmakers. Yes. If you want better policies, we need better policy makers. As one brother put it from Aspen Council 8, he said, what can be gained in the workplace can be taken away at the ballot box. All right. We got to vote in some folks that not people that agree with you 100% of the time, but people who understand that you get up every morning for good and for great, who want the same thing for your children that they want for their children. Those are the kinds of people we want to elect to office. And to my sisters in in our purpose of liberation and equality and justice for all folks. You have a Supreme Court through Citizens United that said that money or corporations through their money speech. Yes. Meanwhile, they gutted the Voting Rights Act. And then the McClutchin case, now rich folks can pour as much money into races as they want. We are going from a representative democracy to a oligarchy or plutocratic society. In other words, the more money you have, the more speech you have, and the less money you have nothing. The only way to combat that is through the ballot box. We have got to get out there and we have got to vote. It is unacceptable not to vote. And I need you to say today, to make a covenant among yourselves that you are going to make sure that you are going to vote. And not only will you vote, that you will take some other folks with you to go vote. We got to do that. We got to do that. Now the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world, but to whom much is given, much is required. And so while I'm lifting you up and saying that if God created anything better than a woman, He's shown up, kept it to Himself. But also what I'm saying to you is that we got a whole lot of work to do. And I don't take all the praise if you and I go do the work. But we got to do it. We got to do it. So, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm really getting a little coffee. I'm pumped up now. I'm feeling good. You know, Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm once said that a lot of progress, a lot of energy is missing because women have been denied opportunities to lead just because they're discouraged. That you cannot cut off one half of the population and think that we're going to thrive as a people. And I'm talking about as Americans. You see, the reflection that we see when we look into our neighbor's eyes is all reflection. And if they don't have, we don't have. The reason why I told you the story about my mama and my journey was not to make you sad, but to help you to understand that we are our sisters and our brothers' keepers. I want you to think about this thing. My mother never lived. And I'm trying to keep it together. My mother never lived to see me walk across the stage of a community college. When I asked God to give me some strength that I would become a cycle breaker for my mother's memory, she never lived to see her oldest daughter walk across the stage and get an associate's degree, and then another stage to get a bachelor's and a master's degree. She never lived to see her daughter get an honorary doctorate degree. She never lived to see her daughter sworn in as a city councilwoman, or take the oath of office as a senator, but as sure as her blood courses through my veins, I know that she is in heaven saying, "You go girl. You do that on things. You stand up for people." And so if somebody had given up on me, where would I be today? For those people who don't want to give folks a safety net. There have been times when we didn't have food on the table where I heard my mother crying and moaning at night because she didn't have enough money to get 7 kids Christmas presents. My mother died not just at the age of 42. She died without a life insurance policy. She died with no money in the bank, and she died of the system of welfare. How I got over, my soul looks back and wonders how I got over. And even though there are people in history whose names we know, and we call out every Black History Month, we are 365. There are so many sheroes and heroes whose names we don't know, who stood in the ready for us. And so our moral obligation is to stand in the ready for somebody else. So yeah, my hair is on fire at all times. They can say what they want to say about a sister. My hair is on fire. When I reflect, and not that I'm going anywhere anytime soon, but none of us know the day or the hour. But I do think about my funeral moments. I do. Because my mother died so young. When I turned 40, I had a crisis, and I kept thinking I was going to die and not be there for my son. And even though I'm a first-generation college graduate, C.B.T.U, can I tell you when it became real for me is when my baby boy walked across the stage at State University. I was the second generation. Started from the bottom. Now he's here. So, my funeral moment was this. Is what do I do between my birthday and my ending? And that when I have my funeral, sisters and brothers, I told my husband if I go first or my son, whoever, but I have to be in a blue dress. Sister want to be in a blue dress. I'm gonna run things from the grave. You know what I mean? That's how women roll. And I told him I need my glasses because I got to see on the other side. And Madam President, I wanted my iPad, but somebody may steal it in the rain. So it'll be obsolete anyway by that time. I just don't give a good old-fashioned book. But with the minister, and I'm gonna have a 3-day funeral. It's gonna be about 500,000 people. 3 days. But this is the part when the minister steps into the room. I don't want him or her to have to make anything up. If you ever been to a funeral, you don't even know who they're talking about. My sister, you don't know who they're talking about. You wish you had known that person, right? The pastor got to get down and pray God forgive you for all the lies they were told about this person. You see, what I want to happen is I want them to be speaking truth when they get there and eulogize me. But more important, I want the pastor to say she was a fighter. That she was a freedom fighter in the 21st century. But more importantly, I want to hear God say, well done. Now, good. Come on, now. Get there. Well done. Well done, my people. Okay, I done got the hot side, y'all. I can keep on going. I want to say, I want to thank my sister C.B.T.U for making this happen for me. I got the call. She said, people said they're looking for you. I said, who looking for? He said, the president is looking for you. I said, which one? Which one? Sister got to be ready. Okay, so in closing. So, yes, in closing. Well, you know a politician can preach in 5 closes, but my first closing. I want you to know that you have everything within you to be a force of change. You are a force of nature. There's no doubt about it. And when you go back to your respective places and spaces, I want you to go there with a firm understanding of who you are and what you bring to the table and continue to fight for justice and equality for all. So 3 things. If you don't remember anything else I've had to say today, just 3 little things. Number 1, I believe that the creator of this universe has given us 2 hands, one to reach forward and one to reach back, lifting as we climb. We are our sisters and our brothers keepers. Number 2, and most importantly, we can't ask other folks to do more for us than we are willing to do for ourselves. That hard work and determination pays off. Or in the words of Frederick Douglass, you might not get everything that you work for, but you will work for everything that you get. The house of labor, I know you understand that. Like the white folks. But lastly, in the words of my grandmother was hailed from the South. Grandma couldn't read or write, she didn't have a 3rd grade education, but she could count her money. And ladies, I tell you, she left her money to Southern ladies. With a handkerchief. Had that money wrapped up in her. Brothers will catch on after a while. Now my grandma, she was one of the smartest women I've ever known. She had what's called African American called life. She said, my dear granddaughter, all you need are the three bones, the wishbone, the jawbone, and the backbone. She said the wishbone will keep you hoping and praying because hope is the motivator, but the dream is the driver. The reason why we do what we do every single day is because we hope and believe that tomorrow will be better than today. She said the jawbone will give you courage to speak truth, to power on the words of Dante. The hottest places of hell are reserved for those who in times of great moral crisis choose neutrality. We cannot be neutral. We cannot be neutral. But she said the most important bone of them all, the supercalifragilisticexpialidocious bone, is the backbone. Backbone gives courage to speak truth and power. When you speak the truth and power, you don't got time to worry. Just stand up and do the right thing. Because I'm going to tell you some sisters, we can't have a testimony without a test. We're going to go through some stuff. We're going to go through some stuff. But you are going to stand up for generations yet unborn and do the thing that you need to do to make your space a better place, to make this world a better place. Women are forces of nature. If God made anything better than a woman, he must have kept it to himself. I know he did. But as one of our sisters, Helen Keller, because this is going to be the icing on the cake, the way she put it, it's going to be the whipped cream on the sweet potato pie. This is what she said. She said, one must never consent to creep when one feels the urge to soar. I hope every single one of my sisters and brothers in this room today that you feel the absolute unequivocal urge to soar. The power is in your hands. We started on the bottom, but now we can. God bless